It's a firearm component designed to increase firing speed while technically maintaining semi-automatic operation. In a standard semi-automatic firearm, the shooter must fully press and then fully release the trigger for each shot. The process begins when you press the trigger, causing the gun to fire. Then you must fully release the trigger before you can fire again. A forced reset trigger, or FRT, works differently. It was developed as an alternative to bump stocks after their ban in 2019. With an FRT, you press the trigger to fire, but then the firearm's recoil energy pushes the trigger forward against your finger. This forced reset allows the trigger to reset against your finger, enabling another shot to be fired with just a small amount of pressure. Let's compare forced reset triggers to standard semi-automatic triggers. Both are classified as semi-automatic mechanisms because they fire one round per trigger function. However, FRTs achieve faster firing rates by mechanically forcing the trigger to reset without requiring the shooter to fully release it. Let's look at the technical details of how a forced reset trigger works. The FRT system uses the firearm's recoil energy to force the trigger forward after each shot. When the bolt carrier group moves backward after firing, it engages with the reset bar, which then forces the trigger forward against the shooter's finger. To summarize, a forced reset trigger is a semi-automatic firing mechanism that uses the firearm's recoil to automatically reset the trigger without requiring the shooter to fully release it. This design increases firing speed while maintaining the technical definition of a semi-automatic firearm, one round fired per trigger function. The shooter's finger remains in contact with the trigger throughout the firing cycle. The legal status of forced reset triggers is highly controversial and has evolved significantly over time. In 2022, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives classified certain forced reset triggers as machine guns under federal law. This classification was based on the determination that they enable a firearm to fire more than one shot with a single function of the trigger. This made possession of these devices illegal for most civilians under the National Firearms Act and Gun Control Act. Following this classification, several enforcement actions were taken. Manufacturers received cease and desist orders from the ATF to stop production and distribution. Some FRT producers and distributors faced raids by FBI and ATF agents. Multiple manufacturers responded by filing legal challenges in federal courts. The controversy surrounding FRTs features strong legal arguments from both sides. Gun rights advocates argue that FRTs are legal semi-automatic devices, since each shot still requires a separate trigger function. Supporters of regulation contend that FRTs circumvent machine gun regulations by enabling rates of fire similar to fully automatic weapons. The current legal status of forced reset triggers remains in flux. Most FRTs are currently classified as illegal machine guns that civilians cannot legally possess. Several court cases challenging the ATF's classification are still pending. The legal status may continue to evolve as courts issue rulings on these cases.